McLaren have botched another strategy situation at the Hungarian Grand Prix, although this time they got away with it, winning McLaren's first 1-2 since 2021. So how can I say that they botched their strategy if they won the race? And why do I say that they're ruining Lando's chances at the World Championship? To win titles in Formula 1, you need to be a well-oiled and spot-on racing team, making the correct calls at the right time. And McLaren have now brought their car to the very sharp end of the grid with a car that looks like it may be the fastest car on the grid at the moment. It's definitely the most well-balanced and most raceable at pretty much every circuit. But this has exposed them in their operational capacity. This was seen with the massive hesitation about the tyres and the wrong pit calls in the British Grand Prix, which meant that Oscar Piastri lost that race, but Lando came close to winning, unfortunately falling away to third. And we saw it again in Hungary when they made a strategic call to stop the undercut from Hamilton, which meant that Norris went into the lead and then Piastri was told he'd be let through. And this created a situation where Norris didn't really want to give up a race win, only his second in Formula 1, but Piastri had done nothing wrong, so he didn't really deserve to lose his lead when he was told he didn't need to worry about Lando undercutting him. Lando Norris is the closest driver to Max Verstappen in the championship in second, and this race 1-2 brings McLaren second in the constructors' fight. And there are two schools of thought on what should have happened. Many people would say that because Oscar Piastri was leading the race, that he should be given the first preference over the pit stop strategy. Others might say that because Lando Norris is second in the World Drivers' Championship and needs to take as many points off of Max Verstappen, especially when he's having an off day like he did in Hungary, that he should be given the preferential treatment. I can understand both schools of thought. I personally fall on Lando because he's fighting for his first World Championship, even if it seems like a tall order to overthrow Max. But I understand both sides of this argument. What should have happened is exactly what Nico Rosberg pointed out when he was talking about it after the race. He said in 2016, clear instructions were given about what would happen in certain situations, giving the example of Monaco when he was told before the race that the faster driver would be let through to try to collect as many points as possible for the World Championship. This shows that what Mercedes would do is make sure the team knew what would happen in a certain situation. Who has the priority, whether it's the championship leader or the race leader. These things should be ironed out. That way, when the situation arises, you don't have to have a discussion about it. You don't need to have a big hoo-ha over the radio because everybody knows who is going to let who through in any given situation and who gets preferential treatment. And because it's all agreed upon beforehand, there's no hard feelings. Now, to me, this highlights that Lando Norris, in my mind, probably should have been a bit selfish in this situation and gone and taken that race win, because he needs those points in his fight against Max Verstappen. But he's too much of a nice guy. I really like Lando. I think he's a great driver, but he couldn't bring himself to be that sort of driver who would just take the points and take the win and say, sorry, Oscar, I need this. And to me, that shows a vulnerability of Lando Norris. But even more, this shows a vulnerability of the team. More and more as we get into the end of this season, with more points up for grab and more difficult decisions needing to be made, McLaren will need to make the right calls at the right moments. And we see that they are struggling to make those calls when it matters most. Now, it didn't affect the team in this instance because they got the 1-2 and maximum points for the Constructors' Championship, but it could affect them in future races when they need to make a decision but they hesitate over what they should do, or the communication just hasn't been made in the first instance. Admittedly, this is the first time for a very long time that McLaren has been in a position to take one or both of the Constructors' and Drivers' Championship. So they need to iron out these inconsistencies in their game, and they need to become like Red Bull when they make the right calls at the right times, although they struggled in this race. Who do you think should have won the race in Hungary? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.